commissioners to turn your mic on. Turn mine on. Turn your mic on. Put your phone on silence, please. Are there any visitors wishing to address the committee at this time? You have 3 minutes.
Joe Stevens Road. I appreciate you telling everybody to turn on their mic. I hope at the same time that when they choose to make a remark, perhaps they'll hold their mic with them instead of leaning back in the chair, making it very difficult to hear. You have before you a big task, probably the most significant task that you have each year. Determining how to spend other people's money. You have a budget that amazingly, it seems no matter how much more money you take in, how much additional revenue there is, or how much additional revenue any other entity has, whether it's the school board, the road commission, whomever, you always manage to show a deficit. And everybody screams and cries, you know, I'm the most important, I need this, I need that. My people need a raise, my people need a raise, my people need a raise. Maybe the taxpayers could use a raise or less money being taken from them. And I know we don't have a tax rate at this time, but we have a good guess. It's in your book, 0.85. Because when your appraisals go up, practically double or double, your tax rate comes down, at least initially, before it comes to you. So the tax rate will come down from the state, a certified tax rate, and then it will come to you. I hope you will look carefully at your budget, that you will cut as much as you can. And there are items to cut. You can't act like this is the be-all, end-all. Please think. I hear, you know, oh, we've got these many employees and that many employees and this group needs so much and all like that. And then I'll hear people talk about 60,000 residents. They need a break also. So as your appraisal is going up, please don't take any more than you need to. And please look carefully at your spending. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else wish to speak to this committee? Seeing none, we will move to 3 old business, and we do not have none. We will move into new business. We'll go to 4A, Hamblen County Board of Education budget request. This time I open the floor for discussion.
Commissioner.
Yes, Ms. Green.
My mind left. I started to call you Commissioner Hahn. I apologize.
Forgive you.
I've went back through paperwork today, and for the life of me, by what I've pulled out and given to other folks, I have so many questions for our school board and our representatives that it just blows my mind. Back in May of 25, the school board decided to give back $800,000 on the SROs. My question is, those SROs are for the schools. So why can they not do that again this year instead of asking for more money? We all have budgets. So do our taxpayers. So I brought you all copies, so give me just a moment and I will pass them out. I like to see what I'm talking about, and I'm assuming everybody else does too. So just Just a minute. If you don't care, Wayne, pass that around for me, please.
What do you want me to do with these?
Get you one and pass it on down, please. That'll give everybody the chance to see what we're talking about. I think we need to ask them to contribute what they contributed last year by the money that they received. It is more than something that they could think about and take care of. You don't care, Wayne, get you one of those and pass it down as well. One of them you've got coming through is the $800,000 that they gave for SROs in 25, May of 17 or 25. One of them that you've got coming through is where Britton, Mayor Britton, ex-Mayor Britton, retired Britton, ever how we wanted to refer back to Mayor Britton. He took 12 cents from the property tax and he exchanged it in sales tax. And they still came out better than what they were before. It is something that we need to look at. Instead of pouring out more money, we need to get to the point that we can budget. I am proud of our schools. I am proud that I have grandchildren in schools. But I think we need to be more than reasonable with our citizens about this. You have the newspaper article, the Hippians remind you what was said about the $13 million that was given to the schools in 23. There was $2 million in 24. And if I remember correctly, there was $2 million in 25. And if I'm incorrect, please feel free to correct me. I'm human. I do miss things and I do make mistakes. But we need to keep our money in hand. We're given more than what the state recommends for the maintenance of effort, and I could see that they felt the same thing by the paperwork that was on my desk. It showed the state calculation, and it showed what we had been doing. So why do we need to give one $3 million more dollars? I think our school board does a good job, but I'll be brutally honest, they need to learn to budget their money. You don't spend what you don't have. And to be brutally honest with you, Mayor Cutshaw scared the devil out of me the other night when he talked about the deficit being what it was. So we need to be very, very careful. And we need to follow budgets extremely well. Now, all of you should have one of those so far. And you're getting one just exactly like they gave us on the maintenance of effort coming around. So don't think anything about it. Take your one and pass down, please. Please. But they did the 800 in the past, 800,000, and I think it's only fair. They have money the same as we do. I'm sure they have unused money. Being that they got what they got. I don't know about you, but 13 million is a flabbergasting number for me. I've never seen that much money. So I just think that they need to look at it. And they've got something on their billing that made me ask questions when I went through today. And we were talking about it before you called to order. And it's the $425,000 of indirect costs. I am curious as to what that is. But I do think they need to pay high for the SRO costs. I think it'd be a win-win deal. I think they should continue to pay high. But I also think that they need to consider what things cost for the public right now and what kind of situation we are all in. We have people in here asking for money left and right. Now, I realize that some of you are retired from the schools, some of you still work for the schools. I still work part-time myself, so I do understand that. But we need to be good stewards of the citizens' money. We need to look directly and cut some strings before we hit a deficit that pushes a tax rate increase. And I'm not for that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hall?
I think Edna made some good points, and I agree with some of that. Part I agree with most is the people in our county are, their expenses are going up, and therefore it takes more to live. Well, unfortunately, that carries over into every facet of our county government and services. And I think we have to be real careful. This is not a one-sided deal. Education, highway department, sheriff's department, all these other departments are functioning for the people of our county. And their expenses continue to increase and revenues aren't keeping up. Our pay for our county employees hasn't kept up. And we got a lot of soul searching to do here. And we're gonna have to make some decisions. But yes, the citizen, my grocery bill is a lot larger now, or my gas bill, or whatever. It does keep going up. And I think that when it comes time to talk about a tax increase, you know, we have to keep in mind that we're not going to overly burden anyone. And everybody says, well, if I have a $300 a year tax increase, that would be very, very large for this year. But you have to keep in mind that only comes to like, what, $25 a month? And that's, any way you look at it, that's a drive-through Dutch Brothers coffee once a month, or a pack of cigarettes, or stopping to buy, you know, Cokes for the family. You know, but we have to have this money in order to provide these services. I know we have people talk about our roads. They want smooth roads, okay? We can't have smooth roads without revenue. The roads are for the citizens. Same with our school system. We want the best education system in the state, in the country. And it costs. We're in the middle of raising teachers' pay up to $50,000. We're 1 year away from that. We've got to be there. These are not luxuries. These are things that we got to have. Our sheriff's department, you know, someone said, well, some of the deputies are making $60,000 a year. Yeah, probably. Those guys have paid their dues. They put time of service in. A lot of those young men are down here on the bottom. Those guys are going to retire. They're going to walk out. They're going to retire. And we won't have any experienced young officers coming in to fill that gap. Same thing with our teachers. You know, I look at our schools now. I retired 10 years ago. There's barely anybody left that I worked with 10 years ago. And the young teachers coming in, they'll stay a year or two, and then they're taking off to chase another dream. So we have to be realistic about this. We have to look at long range. And I don't think that we're doing that by saying, you know, that we don't need to put any more burden on the county. It's not a burden. It is a cost of doing business, a cost of living, smooth roads, good education, sheriff's department. We enjoy those things. We have to fund it. We have to put people in there. So it's going to cost us to do that. And we can't always get up here and, you know, I'm a poor person. I don't have a lot. I can't give a lot more. But if it means for us to have what we need in this county, then I'll do away with some of the luxuries that I have. We have to look at it that way. I think it's important that we don't get in this mindset that is saying, you know, we're doing this, we're not doing this. This is for the county. Because I listen to people, you know, we got to get smoother roads. We got to get more officers on patrol. You know, we got to pump up our education system. We have to do this. We have to do that. Our garbage pickup. All those things. And they cost money. My money, your money.
Commissioner Long, may I respond there, please?
Yes.
I will congratulate you. You brought up a good point. Our teachers' salaries are right on target to be exactly where the state wants them. In fact, if the paperwork I looked at today is correct, we're a little bit ahead of the game for what the others are. So you brought up a good point. We're right on target. We don't need to add to it. By what I read today, we're perfect.
I didn't say that.
You did, what you said?
No, I didn't.
You said the 50,000 mountain
I didn't
remark.
say we didn't need to add to it.
Well,
Don't put words in my mouth, thank you very much.
I wasn't putting words in your mouth,
Were.
sir. But let me finish, please. But we are right on target by what I saw today. We are above what they recommend. So if we stay like we are now, we are good.
No, we're not. We're not. Well, a year from now, we've got to have them raised up to 50,000. We're not there. So you can't say we're good when we're looking at that.
Go back and look at your paperwork, Bobby, that I looked at. Thank you.
I can
Mr.
add.
Brown. I can too.
You're
That's
not
why
doing
I've got a
a very good
bachelor's
job, but
degree
if
of
you think
business.
what we're paying right now is going to equal to 50,000,
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Howe?
Thank you, sir. If I'm reading the Hamblen County Board of Education paper correctly, we have met the state calculated MOE.
yes.
Okay. So, in a time period when we have not opened a jail, which is scary, and we don't know if we'll have enough employees, which is scary, and if we have this brand-new building, and goodness gracious, we wanted it so that we would not be decertified, and we don't have enough employees, then we are, or could be, decertified, and we can't have that mess. But while I'm on that, his budget, Sheriff, when you brought the budget, good golly, that really scared me, because it made me realize that we are really good in Hamblen County of getting that employee, sending them off to Lebanon, paying for their food in their motel, and getting them trained and bring them back. And we have a certified officer, and for $2 more, another county gets them. Now, that's got to stop.
We do, just to
Miss-
add to that, we do a 3-year contract as well. So if they do leave us within the 3 years, they owe us the money.
We're getting off track
Yes,
here.
sir.
Let's-
Yes, sir.
let's-
Okay.
Let's stick with the school budget, okay?
School budget is, we have met our, and we have an unknown in front of us opening up in October. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Carden?
Thank you, Mr. Long. Like, it's just a couple of notes. I think our current, I mean, Amanda can correct me, I think if I'm wrong, you know, our current reserve is really close to where we're supposed to be by the state's determination, which I think is 4 months of cash, if you will. And the one question I had is, so that's a number we don't want to go below. I think that's been kind of indirectly spoken to, but the one question, I didn't see it, I looked it up on the audit from last year, and maybe Mr. Bunch or somebody can speak to it, I don't have that if I'm incorrect, but on the information from the audit, that the fund balance for the school system, it appeared to be, again, I may be misspoken, I thought I'd read it was about 18 million on a total budget of roughly 140 million, and I wondered if we have to have a reserve of 4 months approximately, what the school board, I found a number, but I don't know that to be the right number, what they would have to have.
Mr. Bunch, could you come forward and give us information?
So, on the audit, when that was done, make sure I get this up, hopefully. On the audit, when that was done, they counted numbers in it that were shown in the fund balance that had to be paid out. We're right now just about right at where the state recommends we be for a fund balance. I believe I've got that correct. Because I asked that question before I came up and briefed you all last time. It shows in excess of that, but there are other funds that had to come out of that the audit, the way they captured the funds, those are not realistic based on what else we pay.
I mean, what is that number approximately?
Our working fund balance right now is
12.6 million right now.
Is that, like I said, the counties is a calculated amount, that has to be, is that
Tell us they want us to keep us at 10% is what they want us at. That's what the state recommends that we
Okay.
stay at.
okay.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
I just have one, kind of the same to that point. So whatever the amount that we have collectively for the county, which is on our sheets, and then whatever is shown in front of us for the school board, just for a thought, what options would there be for splitting that and not splitting everybody's bottom line reserve that we all cross the line, that's not one that maybe we don't need to be across as a county, and the one for the school board, whatever that number that Mr. Bunch brought up is the same. So that way, if it's a 50-50 item to consider or something to that effect, just an idea.
Ms. Howe?
Yes, sir, thank you. The pay increase, the 1.5 on our sheet of paper here, is that for everybody?
Talking about what part of the briefing that I gave you all the other day are we talking about? I want to make sure that I'm directly answering the question and I'm not creating confusion. What I briefed you all the other day, right now we are at a 2% pay raise. That's what we've given all of our employees.
Okay.
That is all of our employees. What
Okay.
we asked for the additional money was so that, and with the 2%, we will be slightly above where the state wants us to be for this year. But if we do that again the next year, we will end up only $274 above the starting teacher salary. And when we started this pay raise, we were $2,900 above that, making it easier for me to go explain that we were an employer of choice to try to draw in more talent and retain the teachers that we have. So when we asked for the 2%, that is where we were. That was $1.5 million that we put into that. And then when I outlined to you all the other areas that we were working on and what I asked for, and as I got to the 1.365 number based on calculating a lot of different things, our intent and what I showed you in the end was that if we got that, trying to find exactly what I told you we were going to spend it on, we put an additional 1.5%, that would go to everybody.
Okay, now, $2,000 per teacher's dropping out of the sky.
That's coming from the state, ma'am. That's not coming from any funds from here. That is
Right.
the teacher, they call it a bonus for the vouchers. That's not exactly the word that I use for what the state did, but that's okay. But they did that for every classroom teacher.
Okay. So what if the classroom teachers got that and not the 1.5?
Well, that won't go over with our teachers very well at all, because they find it hard to believe that one part of the other parts of the organization will be getting when they're the ones that are targeted to get the raises that have been targeted by the governor.
All right. But it doesn't work the other way. In other words, the kitchen worker isn't getting $2,000.
If you all recall what I briefed you, we put $700,000+ of outcome funds. Those are funds that came to us from the state, no money from this body,
Yes, sir.
toward giving bonuses, $2,000 bonuses to all certified individuals, $1,000 to all non-certified individuals, which means the kitchen workers will
Yes.
get $1,000, the maintenance workers will get $1,000, the bus drivers. That is what we put in our budget, but we didn't take it out of the general fund. We took it out of the outcome funds, which are dollars that we received directly from the state based on scores and other things that we've received in the past.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask for one clarification, make sure I understood,
Yes, ma'am.
please? Is that all right,
Yes.
Mr. Long? I don't want to step on any toes. If I understood you then, just for my clarification, total 2% raise.
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
'cause I just wanted to make sure I understood it correctly, because when I saw the 1.5, and then I went through my notebook and saw the 2.2, I just need to make sure that I'm clear.
What we have right now in the budget that the school board approved, which is that the money that we have been given through maintenance of effort, is 2%. The additional funds that we asked for was to get us to a 3.5% raise. And the big reason for trying to do that is it gets us above the 50, and if we do it 2 years in a row, it will drive us to the point that I then feel comfortable that I can, even if it's 1% more, it will get me to the point that I can make a stronger argument that we should be the employer of choice for people who are out trying to hire. That's what we're trying to do to make sure we get talent. And part of everybody if you're not working in education right now, probably not one that everybody tracks, we are not producing enough teachers out of the universities right now to meet the classroom demands. There are not enough. We are in a talent war. We have more job-embedded positions, meaning someone has a skill set and has a degree, and we bring them in and we let them teach while they go through a qualification program than we've ever had. That all ties together for what we're looking at. It's not a one facet, it's multiple facets that are playing into what we're trying to push forward here.
Mr. Gordon?
Just one more. So if after tonight, for whatever the vote would be, the preliminary vote for things, and if there wasn't any vote in favor of this, would those funds come from the school board's reserve to accomplish what's on the summary sheet?
If you, the 4 things that I asked for additionally, I think there were 4 items. I'm trying to get to my slide again.
4.
We were going to put 1.5% toward pay raise. I took a CDC teacher assistant out of outcome funds. We need to have better communications going, and we were trying to get someone that would be grant writer and communication director, and then the remainder of the funds would go to tech refresh. If we get no additional money tonight, we will not go into fund balance to give more of a pay raise. It'll stay right where it's at. That is the board. That's what was briefed to the board. The CDC teacher, I've already got covered out of outcome funds, which just means it'll be non-recurring funds, meaning that if I have to continue that, I have that budget problem in next year's budget. And then I will go to the board with either a proposal to hire a part-time grant writer on a 1-year basis, with them having to earn their way in and take that either out of outcome funds or out of fund balance, or I will go with a proposal to them to do both out of that and see if they earn their way into next year's budget.
Ms. Howe?
So what about the tech refresh business?
So right now, what we did with Tech Refresh, and I briefed you all that Saturday morning that we didn't want to do this, but I shifted because of funds availability from a 4-year Tech Refresh to a 5-year Tech Refresh. Okay, and that got about $400,000 that we could free up and that we could utilize toward pay raise and all the other bills that we had with health insurance increases, liability increases, all those other things. So what this 97 would do, I would now be in a position that I would be just over $300,000 short for whether I can go back to a 4-year tech refresh. And our strategy right now is we will watch how the revenues come in through the year. And if the revenues that are coming in exceed what we were originally budgeted for, then we would look at seeing if we could pull $300,000 out of those excess revenues that were coming in and stay on a 4-year tech refresh, so that we kept the cybersecurity, we kept the computers more capable, the battery life didn't die down, and our repair costs didn't go up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Bunce.
Thank you all.
Any other discussion?
I have one question. The
Yes.
$425 $425,000 of indirect cost, exactly what was that?
Jared answer the indirect question? Indirect cost is ultimately overhead that is not easily segregated to one thing or another, like liability insurance that, the school nutrition program receives benefit from that, federal programs receives benefit, trash collection. There's no line to draw to say this is your part or that. It's overhead cost ultimately.
Like miscellaneous?
I wouldn't say miscellaneous cost. The two main ones would probably be the trash collection, liability insurance. Liability insurance is a large expense, and it's shared across the different funds.
It is for everybody.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion? Suggestion of a motion?
You said we had 30 million. He's saying that wasn't that much. He's saying that wasn't that much.
We have to vote on this one way or the other.
What are we voting on? For $4 million increase? No, 1.6. Yeah, that one.
Mr. Chairman, would you give us the motion in verbatim?
I'd rather have the motion come from the floor.
Well, it's a motion. What I'm asking is, what exactly are we asking right here? Some of us are
Well,
questioning.
I think you're going to have to either vote no, put a motion on the floor that we do not fund the extra money asked for, or if you put an amount on the floor, then you're going to have to come up with how you're going to fund that. That's your two choices. It would have to be one-time funds, not to the maintenance of effort. So that's choices that you've got.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we had a vote to table or postpone this to the Thursday, the June the 12th, is that a viable motion?
That's putting it too close.
Okay,
Yeah, we've got to get this decided.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a question, please?
Yes.
Mr. Carver, what was your suggestion?
The one thing that because we have other expenses outside this that are present, obviously, and we're on the line of our requirements to meet our fund reserve, and we're only, I think Amanda's numbers are, we're less than 300,000 in our sales, if that's right. I don't know if that's so the fund balance estimate right now is 11,300,000. Yes, roughly. What you gave us, I think, was that right? Yeah, so I think, I mean, making a split would only be, I mean, without having any known for, I mean, or an increase on taxes would be, that would be probably to keep Amanda from being too nervous. That would only be the maximum amount that I think we could actually go for approval to pass on to the school.
Are you speaking of a one-time?
If that was the case, yeah.
Without fund balance? I mean, maintenance of effort?
Right. Right.
Did you say, excuse me, did you say not the fund balance? Or,
Well-
I mean, not maintenance of effort?
Right, well, you may have to clarify, being that would be right. Yeah, a one-time, right, that's what I understood it to be, so.
I didn't hear Mr. Neesmith, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure I understood.
Because since we haven't finished our homework yet, things are still kind of up in the air, so.
These four.
I mean,
I'm just going to put this out to you so you'll understand. And I know people in Hamblen County, like Mr. Holmes said, it's a dreaded word, but tax increases are coming. So anything you add here, you need to take that in consideration of how it's going to affect it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted that so you could figure that in.
Right.
You know.
Well, I can't officially make a motion because I will have to abstain. But I've always been very pro-education. But I'm looking here now at the CDC teacher assistant and the communication director grant writer. And I hate that because the grant writer should technically make money. And, you know, the tech refresh to me is a no-brainer. I think we've got to do that. I think what it comes down to is do we want to go up 1.5% on the pay raise?
You repeat that, Mr.
Yeah.
I think in my mind, the two things that are in question, I mean, I think we take the 1.5% pay increase and the grant writer, and we look at those. And when we say the grant writer, as Mr. Bunch had alluded to, this person could pay their salary and make money. That's the hope anyway. And we could do a 1-year run at that, see how it works out. If this person performs, then we invite them back for another year. But I think that's a chance for us to do this and do it right. And then I think the tech refresh is, I think it's something we got to stay on top of.
Hey, Rodney, can I say something?
Yes.
We got to also understand, guys, as a commission, we carried the burden for 5 extra SROs for the school system. So that's $75,000 a year. That's $375,000 extra that we put on our county. So, I mean, if we're gonna do this, I kinda agree with Jamie that, you know, the school should have to, we're gonna have to dig into our reserve fund. The school should have to dig in their reserve fund too. I mean, you know, I agree, teachers deserve what they pay, you know, more than what they're paid. I thought this last week with all of y'all about our sheriff's department. Our county has kind of done this to ourselves. We have stayed behind the ball on pay raises and paying people. Now it's catching up with us. You know, do I want to see a tax increase No, just like nobody else does. But do I know it's gonna happen? Yes, but I also know that my grandkids go to school, I want them to have the best. Just like when I call the police department, I want the best. I don't want mediocre. So I think, at least, I think the communication director, just like you said, should be able to earn her own keep or his own keep. Can he get, if they can't get $100,000 worth of grants a year, well, if they do, that's an even wash for the school system. They're not losing any money, they're not gaining any money. Will that take a year to 2 years? It could. But I think we need to look at that and at the minimum, or maybe even the maximum. We should split evenly down the line between the county and the school system.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Carter.
So, and I think I've got an idea for a motion that I'll make, so, and maybe Amanda can help me to be clear, be me and the new guy. So whatever we did as a one-time, if we were to do the one-time, because I just don't understand the states, the minimum amount we're supposed to keep, what responses do they say when you are taking from a one-time donation, or one-time move of funds to the school system or other agencies? What's the communication back from the state when those things happen?
From the county's perspective?
Yeah.
As long as you're funding it some way,
Okay.
that's like, the question I would have is, if we're funding money for raises, what will the school system do next year?
Right.
How will they fund it if it's a one-time, donation?
Right. So whatever number, and I don't care to make a motion, I have something in mind, but so whatever number that I throw out, right or wrong, that won't at all show on a number relative to the reserve right now. It's 11.
That's right.
Okay.
Anything you all vote on.
Okay, and that's what.
To give to them would
Okay.
come off of that fund balance that's in your packet tonight.
Okay, well, with that, I'd make a motion that we allocate $600,000 as a one-time to the school board relative to the budget that's presented before us.
I'll second that emotion.
Second, Mr. Walker. Is that right?
Yes.
Does that mean we're cutting this?
600, yeah.
Jim carries.
Are there any restrictions on how you divvy up the 600,000? Or is that for the school system to decide?
I mean, unless historically there is, I would think it would just be on their own merit of what they see fit to use it towards.
Mr. Neesmith?
Are you saying it's a one-time deal,
Yes, sir.
not messing with the maintenance of effort?
Correct.
That's your motion, okay.
Yes, 600,000, yes, sir.
Yeah, if that be the case, then does that mean then the $600,000 will lose? They'll just have to decide how they want to divide that $600,000 into these 4 different sections here?
Yes,
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
yes.
Wait just a minute. Go ahead, Mr. Walker. Mr. Huntsman, will you say it one more time?
Okay, instead of reducing to the 1.365, we're going to reduce it to 600,000.
Yes.
And if we do that, then you've got four sections you had here, the funding request for our county here, with each part on it here, these 4. So what they're saying is this $600,000, if we give it to the schools, they're gonna have to decide how they're gonna take so much or add their means of effort to the difference between these 4 things to come up with what they want. Is that correct?
It's not a maintenance of effort, though.
Pardon?
It wouldn't be a maintenance of effort.
Well, they're.
It's a one-time fund.
This is one time for us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but the difference here, who's gonna put that in there?
School.
The school.
I do.
School.
That's what I'm saying.
I just want to remind commissioners that we cannot tell the school system how to spend their money.
That's right, that's correct. That's what I was asking. I mean, you know, you kinda like to know, if we do that, will it still get taken care of?
That's Amanda asked back there.
I'd like to, not like for them to see what they think about that.
We got a motion on the floor for discussion. Mr. Walker, you was next. What do you?
That was my question, and you clarified that. So we can't say that if we did the $600,000, they would have to use it in that four-tier
Yeah.
area. They couldn't use it, say, we're gonna give them $600, well, we're not gonna do pay raises for the
Yeah.
teachers and everybody this year. We're gonna use that to
Right.
go buy color crayons for everybody in the school system. You know, that's my question. Can we get the commitment from the school board if we allocate that money, that you're gonna use it in that tier to do something there, either with the teacher's pay or?
So, a couple of different things you all brought up. I'm sorry, am I clear? 600,000 one time. If we put it into pay raise, it'll be recurring next year. We've created a 600,000 thing that we'll have to deal with next year. Just be aware, that is what we're doing by doing that.
Right.
If it's 600,000 that we get, that 600,000 will go toward raise. That will not be a percent. It'll be somewhere less than 1% is what that will do. And the other stuff, we will have to look at whether we take it out of fund balance and whether we go forth and do them or not. The CDC assistant, I've already got that covered for 1 year. We will have to make a decision of whether we do a communications and grant writer or just a grant writer or none of those. I suspect we'll at least do the grant writer part-time to try to let that individual pay their salary, and if they don't, Hawkins County hired one they paid for themselves in 2 months. That's kind of the model of what we're trying to follow. And then the tech refresh, what we'll do with the tech refresh is we will keep that $400,000 hole that we've created. And as we look at the revenues that come in, we will look at whether we're ahead of the revenues that we expected or not. And if we're ahead of the revenues that we expected to come in, right now we're a little over $2 million ahead of revenues projected for this year. And so what we will do with that month, 400,000, is we would look for a time that we could find that and buy those to keep on a 4-year tech refresh. That'll be the strategy of what we do with the money. So if we get $600,000, again, realizing it's going to go to pay raise, which means it's going to be a gift that keeps giving years on into the future, and we'll have to try to figure out how to address that in next year's budget. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we have first, second on the floor. Is any other discussion?
Chairman, I
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
I'd just like to reiterate, in the past, our sales tax has always been a lot more for the schools than what we estimated it at. And I fully expect it to be that way again this year. So, again, we need to be thrifty. Thank you, sir. Chairman.
Before I ask for the vote, yes, Mr. Neves.
Are you saying the sales tax, what the city gives us is less this year than it has been?
No, I'm saying what the schools, may I answer,
Yes.
please? I'm saying what the schools have gotten in the past has been a lot more than what showed that they were going to get. We've exceeded every year for the last several years. We've
Yeah, our
exceeded.
sales tax.
We've exceeded what we gave the schools.
The half of the
themselves.
city
Yes.
goes to the schools.
Yeah, we've
But
exceeded
this year
it.
it's less, you tell me.
No, we've exceeded it every year.
This past
And I expect we will this year.
Okay.
It does that, but I can't budget during the year of execution. That's where it gets into the fund balance.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Lyon.
Mr. Bunch, could you come to the podium just a second before we vote on this? Just come right there. And I want to take us off course just a little bit because in the Meadowview Lincoln Building Project,
Yes, sir.
we issued 1.2 million.
We issued $13.5 million worth of bonds.
We will, but
We will. We've issued 3.5, and then there's another 10 that are coming. That project starts here. We've already got the modulars going in. The inside work of the project starts in about 2 weeks.
the ARCA money,
I have not asked for that yet. That is $1.3 million that we were, huh?
Almost the same amount as what you
It's $1.3 million. I was not going to ask for that. I was going to wait for that, and here's why. When I last met with you all and we talked about the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative, we had that meeting that night that many of you were able to attend. Some of you had prior commitments. There were a few things that we highlighted we need to look at as a district. What we were looking at as a district, and I'm going to tell you what we're looking at. I'm not telling you we can't do what you're considering, Amanda. I'm just telling you what we're looking at. The Meadowview and Lincoln project came in significantly under what we had been estimated with our architect. What we were looking at doing was there are two significant capital projects that are at East High that are single point failures that if we lose those, they're going to be shut down in schools for quite a while, and replacing them is going to be really hard. So, and the other one I was asked to go look at was what would it take to enclose the classroom walls at John Hay. I am still finalizing, and I got another estimate today for what it would take to enclose the classroom walls and add 2 classrooms at John Hay to get us out of the modulars. What I've got to come back to you as soon as we get this finalized is and the reason it came up in the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative was that's where we highlighted the capital projects. It looks like the John Hay, when you add all this together, it's going to exceed the 13.5, but it's a lot more than what we thought we were going to do. We were just enclosing the classrooms at Lincoln and Meadowview. I'm trying to finalize that so I can figure out where we're at financially, Amanda. That's what I'm trying to do. And that Energy Efficient Schools Initiative met at the state level today. We should find out tomorrow whether that got approved, and it'll flow back to us so that we can get approval to go get the loan to do what we're doing and pay for it out of the savings we get in energy. We should find out about that tonight or tomorrow. Does that answer your question, sir?
yes. The question I would have to Amanda is if we could allocate 600,000 or whatever figure out of the ARCA money, let you use it, and then us address that in the bond issue that we're fixing to have later this summer. Can you address that?
So commission has already approved the allocation of 1.3 million out of our ARPA funds towards, it was initially to go towards the Lincoln School project, but when you all came in under budget over that, we moved it then. Just a few months ago, we revised that spending plan and then made that money designated for the the classroom enclosure project.
Okay.
So if this body decided not to commit it for classroom enclosure project, but instead use it for your needed money in next year's, I know it will not help your reoccurring item.
I got to make sure that I understand what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, there were 3 different things that we looked at. There was an initial $3.5 million for bond. That was to get us started on that project. There was 10 that was going to flow behind that.
Right.
There was then what I thought initially was 1.7 million. Turned out to only be 1.3 million, I think, because you all needed the money to go do something else.
Communication, right.
That 1.3 is still held back.
That's
and
right.
We've not made any commitment for that whatsoever at this time.
Okay, but the board, the commission voted a few months ago to redesignate that money towards the classroom enclosure project. So even though we've not given it to you and you've not asked for it,
and I didn't ask for it because the project came in our budget, and I'm not
Right.
going to need it for that purpose.
right. So,
What I'm trying to figure out is if I can enclose Meadowview and do that with the bond and the 1.3, is that something I need to bring back so that we utilize those monies all for the schools? Does that make any sense, Amanda?
It does, it does.
Now, if you decide you don't want to do that and you want to take something to solve part of the problem now, then what I've got is I've got an out-year capital funds project that I got to look at, and we'll do whatever the commission says they want to do in that area. I just want you all to understand what projects we're trying to look forward for, what we've got to do capital-wise and try to get all the classrooms enclosed, and wanted you to understand what we're trying to do with the money you've given us so far.
So it just, this is an alternative. That's all, there's some money there.
Chairman Long,
Yes.
clarification from Amanda, if you please.
Yes.
The bond issue is what they have paid back over the years, the totals that I looked at, and some of our records.
Right, we just issued this past year in 2024, the $3.5 million. And then the plan is in the next month or so, later this summer, early fall, then the commission's already voted on that to issue another $10 million. So the total project was, approved for $13.5 million. And so then we had, so yes, that's the answer to your question. I won't keep going.
And
Thank
we
you.
are paying, and we are paying back out of our money every year a certain amount of money, and we did that previously. We ended it. Now we've started again paying that money back based on this new one starting, I think is what you were getting
Yeah,
at.
that's what I looked at. Thank you
What
for
I
the
thought you were asking
clarification.
for, ma'am.
Thank you.
We use it maybe for that money there, for that bond issue. Why couldn't we do that to that? We got $3.5 million. Should we not take this money out of that money there?
No, okay, so right now, we have a fund that's COVID money that's still sitting there. And of that money, 1.3 million, the commission voted just a few months ago to designate that for the schools for the classroom enclosure project. So an option, I'm not saying you should, but the option would be to use that money and vote to, you wouldn't designate it for classroom enclosure project. It would just go, we would give $1.3 million to the school to use however they needed it. Maybe for these requests.
We could include that.
It'd be whatever figure you all came up with.
Whatever yes.
Yeah.
And so then, that's going to take a vote on, that's outside of budget, okay? So you've designated that money right now for this. And if you choose to designate it for something else, then you would have to vote that. It's just part of, like, finance committee. It's not part of our budget. Okay? Does that help?
I just think that right now, they don't know what they're gonna do with it. I think we can take that without going more than debt here, tax money, to spend this. Or something else, if they've already got money they can draw out of it if they want to.
They have
We've already
bond.
paid, we've already voted, the bond issue's done, that's a done deal.
Right.
So you've got that in your hand. Well, why can't we take this money here and rope that together there, so if they want to take that, because they're going to spend it anyway, the way they want to.
If you want to
Well,
undesignate it for
I know
classroom
I
enclosure.
can't vote for that, because we got something on the floor right now, but I think that's a way out, without spending money.
Mr. Richards?
Look, I was going to say, Mr. Huntsman, that the school board and Mr. Bunch have put together a capital improvement program, their capital needs to get rid of all, we and they have decided we'd like to get rid of all the portables as much as we can and get classrooms out of, get designated classrooms.
There's a certain amount of that we're going to be able to do with what's in the bond. Right now, the number one step we're trying to get at is enclosing the classrooms at Meadowview and Lincoln. How we got into where we needed the extra 1.3 was when we did the initial estimates and we looked at what it was going to take us to set up modular classrooms at Meadowview for a 2-year period And the current estimate that we got from our architect to do the enclosure of the classroom walls, it exceeded $13.5 million, and we needed the extra 1.3 to make that all happen.
To bridge the gap.
To bridge the gap. When we actually got the money when we actually got the bids in, the bids came in under 8 to do the work on the enclosure of the classrooms. We still had the cost for the modulars, but when you added those together, it was less than the 13.5, which meant we didn't need the 1.3 to go do that other. When we had the meeting on the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative, you all expressed an interest in being able to use that bond money already allocated, if the dollars, and we figured everything out, to be able to solve some of the capital projects that were single point failures that put the schools at risk. And I was asked to go look at trying to enclose the classroom walls at John Hay, because at that time we did not have that cost estimate. I now have the cost estimate for trying to do John Hay. The additional factor we added in at John Hay, some of you realize we put 2 modulars up there a couple of years, would be to build classrooms on the back end to get out of the modulars. And that would leave us to where we have modulars at Fairview Marguerite and Hillcrest would be and Miller Boyd, with the 2 primary focuses being trying to get out of the modulars at Hillcrest and Fairview Marguerite in the future, but minimizing what we're in right now.
And also, when you say single point failure, we're talking about shutting the school down.
Yes, we are.
Energy-wise, it's
And
the
about
boiler.
$2 million to do that.
And it's not a weekend fix kind of thing. So that's why I think it's important to keep this on track.
The $2 million, as soon as we get the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative through, and if you'll look in the capital budget that I gave you, there was one item that was on there that was capital that was highlighted in green. That was $1.2 million. That was a capital project. That's one of the 2 that were at East High, and that's where both these single point failures are.
Thank you.
That's the boiler.
Boiler, and it's, I'm drawing a blank on the
Heat-
second
heat
one.
exchangers.
It's the heat exchangers. Those are the 2 items that are, I think dinosaurs were roaming the face of the
Yeah, I
earth when we
think
put them in, and they're ready to fail.
Any other questions? We have a motion on the floor to fund $600,000 one time out of the general fund. Let's do a roll call.
Debbie Ahern,
Abstain for cause.
Jamie Carden,
Yes.
Edna Green,
Abstain because I don't have enough information to make an informed decision.
Dan Harville,
Yes.
Bobby Hahn,
Abstain for cause.
Mark Harner,
Abstain for cause.
Peggy Howe,
Yes.
Joe Huntsman,
Yes.
Rodney Lund,
Staying with cause.
Wayne Neesmith,
Yes.
Mike Reed,
Abstain with cause.
Mike Richardson,
Yes.
Tom Walker,
Yes.
7 yes. 6 abstain, 1 absent. Motion passes.
Motion carries. We'll move on now to 4B. And nonprofit for the library. Ms. Hale?
So last week when we met, the vote was taken for the nonprofits that are reoccurring. And the motion and second was made to fund them with no change, with the exception of Helen Ross McNabb, and I think there was a $300 difference. And I failed to take into account the library's request for an increase in funding outside of the capital request. So we need to revote the nonprofit vote to include the requested increase for the library.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hone. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Horner. Any discussion?
Yeah, let's explain that again.
So in the nonprofits, Ms. Al, the library asked for $30,000 capital request that you all approved, preliminary, first vote. And then they asked for, I think it was roughly 26,000 in reoccurring costs, for their employees, operational costs. They asked for an increase. And when we voted on it the other night, I failed to recognize the library's increase. So we just need to, if you vote to fund that increase requested by the library, we need to revote that. I just didn't want to mislead anyone.
Any other discussion? Mr. Smith?
If, when you give the money to the library, that library's on a 50-50 with the city and the county. Will the county, is county gonna foot the whole bill, or they gonna half it? Okay.
Any other discussion?
City has already approved it.
We just failed to pick that up when we was going through there. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. We'll move down to 4C, open items.
Mr. Chairman, we looked at the 10% for the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department across the board. Oftentimes, when you try to fix one problem, you create another, and that's kind of what we did there with that. We're going to end up having some discrepancies, some problems across other departments. I would like to make a motion that we do the 10% for the corrections officers. Those seem to be the areas that you're losing folks at, not in the upper areas. 10% for the corrections officers, and then do a 7% across the board for all the other Hamblen County Sheriff's Department and county employees. 10% corrections officers, 7% for all other county employees. And that's my motion.
So moved.
Have a second by Ms. Ahern. Any discussion?
Mr. Neesmith.
Do we know how much that's
Mr.
gonna be?
Neesmith, wait, Mr.
I was
Neesmith.
gonna second it, but we've done got it seconded.
Okay. Mr. Huntsman?
Do we know how much money we're talking about? 7% and 10%? The increases? The tax dollars are gonna be, any close to it? I mean, I don't know exactly.
Well, I can tell you when it was 10 across the board and 5, the cost was going to be 1.29 million. So it'll be something less, or probably even close to that. I don't know that we're going from 5 to 7 for everyone, and then down from 10 to 7 for some. I can get you a number tomorrow, but without seeing it, like actually doing it, I'm going to say it's going to be close to 1.2. 1.3 million.
I think it'd be pretty much a wash.
10%.
I'll have tomorrow morning.
But then we come back and.
Ms. Howell?
Yes, sir, thank you. Now, does that include like Ms. Henderson's office and all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
7.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I couldn't hear her question, please.
She asked if that covered, like Ms. Henderson's office, the 7% covers across the board.
Across the board.
I have a question for you, please, sir.
Yes.
Now, is that all the way up the ladder in the sheriff's department? for
No,
10%?
just the corrections officers, 10%, all others, 7%.
All others, 7.
That's for all departments?
And that's for all departments, all county departments.
Road department?
Road department, that gets your boys riding the back of the garbage truck.
But as far as your sheriff's department, that's not just the jailers, that's your administrative board that we went in and I'll use, Sheriff Chief. Clarify for me, I apologize.
Yeah, the 10% is for the corrections officers, those are jailers.
Okay.
Only.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
That's one we
And-
need to work.
Yeah, that's where we're losing people.
I agree.
And then we would have, hopefully in the next year, have the salary study
Salary
so we
study.
could, you know,
Chairman Long,
After that,
how long's it been since they ordered that salary study, sir?
I'm not sure, Miss Green, it's been too long.
Can you find out for me, please? I agree, we should have done had it.
Right?
The salary study,
Full of smart groups.
the salary study.
Any other discussion? Let's do a roll call, please.
So COLA wouldn't be involved. You think? The COLA would be-
All other Hamblen County employees.
But it wouldn't be COLA plus the 10%.
Yes.
Randy Carden,
Yes.
Edna Green,
I still abstain, I still need more information than I have.
Shan
Thank
Hubble,
you.
Yes.
Bobby Hahn,
yes,
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Peggy Howe. Yes. Joe Huntsman,
Yes.
Rodney Long,
Yes.
Wayne Eastman,
Yes.
Mike Reed,
Yes.
Mike Richardson,
Abstain with cause.
Kyle Walker.
Yes.
What the percentage of correction
Two and one absent.
Motion
Motion carries.
carries.
Tell us that.
Any other,
Mr. Chairman, I want to jump in with one more. I talked about it last week, and I just want to put it on the floor as a motion to move the $27 of wheel tax money to paving, and realizing that we'll have to make that money up of about $1.7 million, and that will come to somewhere around 5%, 5 cents on the tax rate. I'll put that in form of a motion. That's the one thing we hear more than anything from the constituents is fix the roads. And we've got to have money to do it.
if you remember in our survey, that was the number one issue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. Any discussion?
we, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we have been out of fund balance, we've been given 500,000. Will we still continue to do that, or does that, moving that 27 over?
I think moving that 27 over will wash
Take care
that.
of that. Okay.
Wash that, and
Good.
that'll give them roughly $3 million a year to work on paving.
Okay, can we, do we need to make that in the amend the motion to say that?
Whoa, back up a minute.
Do what?
We're back. What's that suspect? How much the tax increase is for everybody?
It would have to go to the 176 fund.
If you,
Yeah.
you know, $27,
What might
go to $23.
It would have to go to the 176 fund.
We added the $23 to make it $50.
Maybe, I don't know, I think that was, maybe we have to do this about the 500 that we normally lose, and I think it's.
Talking among themselves, you're paying.
This pays that 5%.
Chairman Long, we can't hear anything, honey.
We're trying to clarify the 500.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know the 500, I don't understand what the 500 that you all are referring to.
That's, I talked to you today about how much was set aside for paving from,
Oh, so in this year's budget?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I'm sorry, I
Okay.
wasn't clear.
All right, so
I assumed you knew.
in this year's budget, there was $450,000 budgeted for highway construction.
I stand corrected.
So,
So are you willing to change your motion
I
to,
mean, it's okay to leave that in the budget. It's just, you're going to be adding money to, the reason we've not budgeted any more than that in the past is so that
Well, realizing that money comes in
Yes,
month by month.
it does. But then the highway department comes before county commission and gets approval for the roads they're gonna pave.
And
So,
that's all we asked for at that particular time.
that's right.
So if all the money comes in like we want it to, we're gonna be in good shape. We're gonna be able to pay 8 or 9, 7, 8,
10, or maybe 10.
10 maybe.
Yeah.
Right now, we only do about 3.5.
And
We'll
just,
get that first money that we had in there for the road department back in 2001.
I am okay with that money staying in there this year, but next year we won't have to do it.
We won't need it.
We won't need it.
We still come to the commission to ask approval of the roads and only grab that amount of money
Yes.
Right,
for that particular season, fall and spring.
right.
And that's why that 500, 480, whatever it was, is there.
Is that
So
right?
you would still come,
It's-
you
we'll
would still come
you know,
to us.
our
So you want to
agreement-
leave that in there?
Yeah, our
Yes,
agreement.
Okay, that's fine.
I think
That's
this
fine.
year, yeah, you're all
The
right.
agreement with the highway department and the county commission at the time was we would come to and present
Right.
the
Correct.
roads. How would that,
I would think you would have to amend your motion that they could come to us and ask for approval for the 27 too, because we've done it for the 23. I don't think that'll cover the 27, so.
well, we've already approved that as full
For the
commission.
$23.
You've not approved this new money.
I would amend
If
my
it comes
motion to
into
show,
the-
to show that,
I
yeah.
think it was actually for the 176 fund, so it has to come for approval.
Is that how it was?
when the new wheel tax was voted on last year, it was designated for highway capital projects. So that doesn't have to be.
That was for the $23.
That's right. So there'll have to be a resolution, there'll have to be a, a resolution now to say that that money that has been going into the general fund, that
Right.
$23 of wheel tax money is going to go into highway capital projects.
Yes.
And I want to be sure, Wayne, that, so we think, I'm estimating, but at July 1st, the highway project fund will have about $865,000. So remember, with the wheel tax, though, we're not going to have 1.7 million on July 1st.
Just show up, right.
It's going to have to trickle, like as people
100,000.
renew their car tags, you'll get more and more each month.
Right.
That'll be just like this last wheel thing. It's gonna take us a year to get that money.
It will.
Correct.
This new money is gonna take the same amount of time to get that new money. in
Right.
there.
We just can't, we can't go paving on July 1st. We won't have the money.
Well,
I mean,
and then
not-
winter's
we'll have
gonna
some.
hit you.
Well, they're gonna have the 450,000 or 480, whatever it is, they're gonna have that available for
And
them.
800 in beginning fund.
Yeah, so they can get started.
I have 1.2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would think we'd need a separate resolution to say that all wheel tax money goes to paving only.
We do
So
that
just
now.
leave your motion like it is, and then we'll do another.
That would be
That's
not a
what
budget.
I thought.
That'd be a budget, that'd be a full commission.
All righty.
We'll have to do a resolution
We'll have to do that at full commission.
at full commission. That's understandable.
Yes.
Clarification, since that comes out of the 176 fund and has nothing to do with salaries, is it okay if I vote on that particular, this motion?
To be on the safe side, I don't
Abstain,
believe I would.
okay.
I'd abstain. Any other discussion? Let's do a roll call, please.
Debbie Ahern,
Yes.
Jamie Carden,
Yes.
Edna Green,
Abstain. I still like to have the rest of those totals, honey, before I make a decision.
Yes.
Bobby Hahn,
Yes.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Peggy Howe,
Yes.
Joe Huntsman,
Yes.
Rodney Long,
Yes.
Wayne Neesmith,
Yes.
Mike Reed,
Yes.
Mark Richardson,
Abstain with cause?
Kyle Walker.
Yes.
Two abstain, and one abstain, motion carries.
There was just one abstaining. Well, two, excuse me. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Motion carries. Any other subject?
I do have a question.
Okay.
If I may.
Yes.
You addressed briefly, and this would be for Amanda, on the mineral tax. Does that go automatically to the road department each year? And does it specify where it goes as far as paving or anything like that, out of curiosity?
What?
Mineral tax, they covered it in our training session in Gatlinburg, sir.
It's not designated, I mean, it goes into the highway fund, but not designated.
Okay. That's what I know. Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Hale?
Just bear with me. In your packet that you had at your table tonight, I just want to go through, I mean, I know everything's been voted on, we've gone through it, but just to give you all an idea of where we are. On the second page is the general fund. And if you just look at the very bottom amount there, before everything tonight, our non-capital deficit. So let me go back. We know what our fund balance is, and we know what we're going to now use in expenses, what our expenses are going to be in excess of our revenue. So the comptroller's office is okay if you use your fund balance, your savings, for capital items. So if you want to buy vehicles or work on your buildings or what, capital items, it's okay to use fund balance for that. But they do not want us using fund balance on reoccurring items. So operational things, salaries, utilities, insurance, things like that. So at the end of the day, before tonight, we started out with our non-capital deficit being $3.9 million. So now we will need another 1.7 because we're not going to receive revenue from wheel tax in the general fund we had counted on. So now we're up to 5.6 million deficit outside of capital items. So I want you all to be aware of that's how much money we're going to need to make up, okay? And then the schools was 600,000 tonight, so we would add another 600 to that. So now we're at 6.2 million is the number that we've got to come up with. Now, I know we don't have the certified tax rate yet, and once we do have that, then we'll know how many pennies that we will need to come up with $602 million. But at the end of the day, we know that we're going to need money. We're going to need increased revenue. We just don't know how many pennies will have to be added to the tax rate right now. So the next page over shows you your non-capital deficit for sanitation. So it's not as much, obviously, it's 102,000, but just keep that in mind because that is all reoccurring. So this time next year, with salaries and benefits and cost of doing business out sanitation department, they're not going to have enough money to fund them. It's going to be reoccurring. So and then the next page then is the highway fund. And that's a deficit of 163,000. I went back and I looked at where that puts our fund balance as a percent of expenditures. The comptroller's office recommends no less than 4 months worth of expenses. But again, we're not looking at capital items. We're looking at reoccurring. So again, keep that in mind, as you go through it. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you is a worksheet from the comptroller's office about adopting a budget during the reappraisal year. And I've highlighted that first or second paragraph there, that budgets for counties and municipalities should be adopted on or before June 30th of each year. When the certified tax rate, or CTR, will not be available at the time of budget adoption, local officials should proceed to adopt the budget in a timely manner and then follow the steps provided by the Board of Equalization to adopt a tax rate once we do get that new certified tax rate. So we're in the right process. You know, like, you all need to go ahead and, as we've done, approve a budget, knowing that we're going to need money. And once that certified tax rate comes in, then we can back our way into, if the certified, you know, like, if a penny's worth $260,000, how many pennies are we going to need? And we work back into it. But I just wanted to share that with you all tonight, this memo, or, you know, from the comptroller's office about what to do during a reappraisal year, because it does throw it out of kilter just a bit. It seems odd that you're adopting a budget when you don't even know what the tax rate's going to be. I get that. But again, reappraisal is technically revenue neutral, and I did go back, let's see, I'll go back to the general fund just one second. So that second page. In this paperwork, if you're reading through it, it will tell you that your revenue should be based on what you got last year, any increase you'll get from a tax increase, and then the amount you'll get from growth. So between last year and this year, we've had new real estate, new personal property come on our tax roll. So I'll call it a bump. We're going to get a bump from new growth. And based on the numbers that I have, I kind of think that number will be $1 million. So when I gave you that starting, that deficit, that's in there. So I've already put that in there. I think we're going to see $1 million in growth. So I won't be sure we're all on the same page, and you all have the information that I have.
Thank you very much. I'd like to remind everybody, next Thursday, June the 12th, at 5 o'clock here in the courtroom, we will recommend a budget to the commission. Then we will have the committee meeting June the 16th at 5 p.m. and then full commission on Thursday, June the 26th. Is all minds clear?